All right, so we're going to get back on example 3 where we left off from. Remember we said that every time we see this, this is basically telling me the derivative of the inverse function. So remember, before we began, we said to do a let statement. We want to let g of x equal f inverse of x. That's the way we write it. So basically, if I'm doing a derivative of this, then they want me to find g prime of a, because they wanted the derivative in terms of x of f inverse of a. That should be the derivative of g in terms of x. So that's g prime of x, but at the a value, right? And that's a equal 3. So we ended on g prime of x have to be equal to, according to example 2, we said that g prime of x is equal to 1 over f prime of g of x. So in order to work this out, I need to know what g of x is, g of whatever the x value is. And then if I know what that is, I'm able to plug it in into f prime, that function. So they want me to find g prime of a, and a is 3. So that's g prime of 3 would be 1 over f prime of g of 3. All right. So we worked out the problem on the board. Remember we said that I have the function. All right. So I know that the x value of the function, when I plug it in, the f of x is going to give me the y value, right? So right now, I know that g of 3 is the output of the inverse. So if I look at the inverse function, the table representing the inverse function, I know g of 3 represents the output of the function when x is 3. So remember we said if they're inverses, I need to swap them. So 3 would go here, and g of 3 would be that x value. So I know that when f of x is equal to 3, the x value that I get when I solve this function for x when x is equal to 3 will give me g of 3. So the first step I have to do is whatever g of 3 is, what that's going to be is when I set the function equal to that x value. So step 1, set the function equal to that step value. Here's that x value. So here's my function. So it's going to be 3 equals 1/4 x to the third power plus x minus 1. So I have more than one representation of x. So all I do is bring the 3 to the other side. It's going to end up being 0 equals 1/4 x to the third plus x minus 4. When we said it would be better if I got rid of the fraction, so I'm going to multiply everything by 4, which will still leave me with 0 here. 4 times 1/4 is going to be 1, so that's just x to the third plus 4 times x is 4x minus 4 times 4 is 16. So we talked about the rule in algebra where when I'm factoring things higher than, well, basically when I'm factoring period, if it's factorable, the zeros are going to be factors of the constant and the coefficient or combination of the ratio of the factors. So if I look at the factors of 16, that's when we took the 16 and we went through all of the different factors. We have 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. So we said, well, what if we try 2? Right? If I plug in 2 for x, 2 cubed is 8, plus 4 times 2 is another 8, so that's 16 minus 16 is 0. So x equal 2 is one of the x values. So I know that g of 3 equals 2 because remember that's the x value that I'll get when I set f of x equal to 3. Remember that's what we did. So this g of 3 is equal to 2. So now that I know that g of 3 equals 2, I'm able to go and plug back in. So g prime of 3 now equals 1 over f prime of g of 3 was 2. And y'all bear with me, I'm holding the iPad and writing on top of the paper that's sliding everywhere. So y'all bear with me. So now I need to find f prime of 2. Well, in order to find f prime of 2, I need to first find f prime of x. So here's my function. F of x equals 1/4 x cubed plus x minus 1. So I need to find the derivative. So f prime of x, take the derivative. This is 1/4 x to the third power. I'll do the power rule. So that's going to end up being 3/4 x squared. And then the derivative of x is 1, so that's plus 1. Okay. And of course the derivative of a minus 1 is 0. So that's my derivative. So f prime of 2 is me just plugging in 2. So that's 3/4 times 2 squared plus 1. 2 squared is 4 divided by 4. That's basically going to cancel out. I'm left with 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. I'm having some difficulties with this piece of paper. All right. So f prime of 2 is 4. So in the place of f prime of 2, I'm going to plug in the 4. So that'll make that 1 over 4. So g prime of 3, which they wanted me to find, g prime of a, where the a value is 3. So g prime of 3 is equal to 1/4.